What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Stoic Context. Today we are going to react to another Kevin Samuels video. Before we get into it, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm going to save my commentary for the end of the video, so stay tuned for that.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. What's the disagreement?
Can I request not to be on YouTube, please?
Um, sure. What's
Okay,
the
thank
issue?
you. I feel like some of the arguments that you make are unfair, mostly because you blame women a lot for the state of the dating market today, and I think
Give
that
me an
it's very
example of what you're talking about.
um saying that women today are not ready to be wives, I think is not fair.
Based
Um,
upon what?
Based upon I understand that there's a sector of women who aren't ready to be married, but I think that um, making that general statement is not fair toward women.
Oh, okay.
And
First off, are generalizations fair?
no, well,
Bullshit.
okay,
Bullshit. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Bullshit. Generalizations are fair.
Okay, I'll concede to that.
All
Um,
right. So saying that women are not ready to be wives based upon what?
um, again, saying that they don't understand submission and being feminine and all
What
of that,
percentage of women would you say are ready to be wives?
I would say probably like 20%.
Ma'am, 20% out of 100% of out of 100%. If 80% are not, that means you just made my freaking point.
Okay, but
No, no, no,
um,
no. Let's before we move, let's
mhm,
acknowledge the math. You can't. The math ain't mathing. You said that you're making an unfair generalization. Then I asked you if you thought generalizations are fair. You said no. And then we had to go acknowledge the fact that it's bullshit. If the
okay,
majority of something is true, it doesn't have to be 100%. 51% will do.
mm,
That's the majority. The presidency is decided by that little of a margin. Okay? That's how
okay,
the world works. And then I'm asking you, the person that says, I make the unfair generalization about a group of women, you tell me that 20% of said women are ready to be wives. That means you agree with me.
okay. But also, I would
But
say,
does the math support my logic?
yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll agree with you on that point. Yes,
okay,
but I also would caveat that with the fact that most men aren't ready to be husbands
doesn't
either.
matter.
Mm, okay, and
Doesn't matter. Men have longer to wait. Men have
okay,
longer lives. See, what you've just proven
mm,
is you're arguing in bad faith. You don't like the facts. And then it's, I know you are, but what am I? So what? If men aren't ready, all men have to be ready for is what percentage of women? All 100% of men have to be ready for is what percent of women?
for the 20%.
Thank you. So
Okay, okay. I'll.
is it that I'm unfair?
Well, it's just the way that the arguments are framed, saying that
They're framed in logic. They're framed in statistics, data, facts, observable reality, things you can go see for yourself.
but you run under the assumption that all the men are out here
I
looking
don't
for
labor under any
wives.
assumption. I said that we don't have enough wives for men who want to be husbands. And you just said 20% of women. Don't tell me what I did when you tell me 2 out of 10 already.
Okay, I would argue that 2 out of 10 men are ready to be
I don't
husbands. So,
care. It doesn't matter. See, it's one of these things of, well, women aren't ready, but the men aren't either. That's how they've learned how to argue. All right, but is a woman at 25 and a man at 25, do they have the same market value?
no.
Oh, okay. Whose market value is higher?
Um, for the dating market or marriage?
Uh, The sexual marketplace. A
Oh,
21-year-old woman and a 21-year-old man. Who has the higher sexual marketplace value?
The woman.
25-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman, who has a higher sexual marketplace value?
The woman again.
A 30-year-old woman and a 30-year-old man, who has a higher sexual marketplace value?
A man.
The 35-year-old man and a 35-year-old woman, who has a higher sexual marketplace value?
The man.
And as I keep going in 5-year increments, will women ever overtake a man's sexual marketplace value?
Not in the long term, no.
No. Will it grow at a steady rate, or will it get exponentially larger? Meaning a 50-year-old man and a 50-year-old woman, will they have the same difference between them as a 30-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman, or will it be greater?
It'd be greater.
Thank you. So by math, you've just said women have roughly a 10-year period before their value dips below men. So it doesn't matter if men aren't ready. Men have a fucking lifetime. Women got 10 years.
Okay, that's actually one of the points I agree with you. One of the
But
few
ma'am,
points I agree with you.
that's at the basis of
But
all my arguments.
but sorry,
Oh my
I
God.
don't mean to change the subject, but
But
I
before, we're
recall.
not going to change the
Oh,
subject.
sorry.
We can move. We can ask another question.
Mhm.
But you gotta admit that there is nothing that you made in your initial statement that lines up with the facts of what I just said.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
So, can you honestly say you listen to what I say in good faith?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Well, and if you
do.
did, ma'am, then you would have listened to those facts, those numbers. I don't just say stuff to be saying it.
Okay.
But just because I don't break every time I say something down in a 5-minute explanation of a quip.
Okay.
Next question.
Um, I've noticed because I've watched a lot of your content in the past couple of months, and I noticed especially I think it was last week that a woman called in. She was a 45-year-old virgin, and I've noticed that when it comes to virgins calling into your show, I feel like you don't give them fair treatment. You just label them all as socially awkward and just hiding behind their faith
That's
as a
not
way to.
true. Ma'am, that is patently false. And I have at least 3 shows I could pull up right now.
Okay, then I'll just go back to the woman that called last week who was 45 years old
Uh huh.
and and a virgin.
Uh
I
huh.
felt like you weren't being fair to her,
Uh huh.
mostly
Uh
because
huh.
you felt like she was delusional, which I
Uh
actually
huh.
agree with you on that.
Uh huh.
However,
What did I say? What did I? She. What? I said she was socially awkward. When was the last time that woman had a date?
I think she said like 12 years or something.
The last time. I'm sorry. Relationship.
A relationship? Oh,
Hmm.
I know it was a long, long
No,
time.
no, no, no. So you're going to bring this person up. So I need you to
Mhm.
be versed in what you're talking about. How long ago was it?
I'll be honest, I don't recall
Okay,
exactly.
so you're going to bring something to the table to discuss and
Mhm.
accuse me of doing something, but you can't even have a firm enough recall. It was 20 years ago.
Okay. I
You
knew it
got a
was a long time.
45-year-old woman who was a virgin, who had not had a relationship in 20 years.
Mhm.
If that's not socially awkward, what? Okay, first of all, that doesn't put you in the socially awkward category. Then
Mhm.
what about talking to a man that's 52 years old for 2 years? Hmm?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
admit that that's
Was the woman, no,
abnormal.
no, 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 but was the woman socially awkward?
I feel like you can't judge
I
that
don't care.
based
No,
off.
I don't. No, I don't want you. I see. That's the feel. You feel like when you listen to that woman speak. Does
Mhm.
that woman sound like she's socially normal, socially above, or socially below?
I
When it comes to romance, relationships, and dating.
I feel like she is, and I understand it's my opinion. I feel like she's strong in her conviction, and
I
that's
don't care,
something.
ma'am. That's
Mhm.
not the question I asked.
Mhm.
Please answer the question I asked.
Okay.
Was she socially normal? Was she socially above normal? Or was she socially below normal when it comes to the marketplace and dating?
She would be considered abnormal.
Abnormal?
Mhm.
Awkward.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you could use that term
So you're
awkward.
going to tell me you feel she's what?
I feel like she's a person who stands strong in her convictions, and that's something that's ridiculed today by the
That's
world.
bullshit
Eh,
because that's the same woman. I asked her, all right, ma'am, if you're a Christian like I am, are
mhm.
you in a church right now that facilitates single marriage? What was her answer?
She said not really.
No. So she's not that strong in her convictions because if ultimately God and her pastor and everything else we talked about, she would be in that one place. See, what you really are showing is you're talking through your feelings.
I'll acknowledge that,
All
but
right, then who
can
can
you
control
acknowledge
who
that you
can no
were
no 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 no
sorry?
well okay. So you said that I do things that don't line up
Mhm,
with what I've done. And you haven't taken them. You've at best you've acknowledged it. How about the
mhm.
fact that you just don't like some of the ways I say things?
No, because like I said, there's some things that I agree with you on, and
Well,
even in
but the
that
thing you brought up,
conversation,
how often do you talk to it? We're splitting hairs too.
mhm,
When you talk to a virgin, how many people are virgins these days? What percentage of the population? What do you think? What percentage of the
my
dating
cousins, most of them
What
are.
percentage of the dating
Oh,
population? I don't give a shit about your cousins.
okay. Of the dating population, I would
Yes,
say
that's all that matters.
less than 10%.
Less than 10. What state do
Yeah,
you live in?
Massachusetts.
You think less than 10%? Less. Keep going. Give me an approximate number, plus or minus two.
Okay, I would say, and we're talking about adults here, correct?
That's the only thing that can date, ma'am. I don't
Well,
know. You
teenagers
don't.
can date too. So, but yeah, I
Excuse me.
would say,
What the fuck? Only we're talking about adults, man.
well, teenager typically
I
most.
don't talk to fucking teenagers.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I would say 8% of
Eight
people.
percent of
Yeah.
the dating population
Hmm.
is are virgins.
Yeah. That's what I would imagine.
Okay.
And I'm a Baptist, so most of the people that the circles I run in, they're mostly virgins.
And how old are you?
I'm 32.
And what city do you live in?
I'm like an hour away from Boston.
Uh huh. And you want to, and the dating population is above 18.
Mhm.
You think that, uh, so when you think of dating population, is that 18 to 34?
Yeah,
Or
that's my
you think
my
8% of people between 18 to 34 are virgins?
well, honestly, I was going based off of a study I saw that about
That's a
35% of
yes
people.
or no question before you tell
Okay.
me about the study.
Okay. All right. I guess I was being naive there. So I would say probably okay, we'll say 1% then.
See, ma'am, this I want you to understand.
Mhm.
I have just deconstructed your entire argument based on numbers. You said that I was unfair to virgins. And the
But
vast majority, hold on, the vast majority
mm,
of people aren't virgins. To be a
yeah,
virgin in the dating market over a certain age makes you a little bit awkward by definition. As somebody who spent 2 freaking years coaching and speaking to incels,
mm,
involuntarily celibate men, virgins, and MGTOWs who actually have had training and studying how to actually approach this and to counsel and coach this. I'm not just some guy in a suit sitting up here making up stuff. As I've shown, as I deconstruct you, I know what
mhm.
I'm talking about. Maybe, just maybe, I know more than you do.
Yeah, and I would
And that's
definitely
why
agree.
I say what I say. I didn't say it to hurt her feelings. There's a movie called The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Was that a
Mm.
drama? Was it nonfiction? Was it sci fi? Or was it comedy?
It was comedy.
Because it's laughable in our society today.
Yeah, and I
All
just
righty. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and finish
okay.
making your point, though.
Yeah, I just felt that it was rude essentially to ridicule someone for that.
I
I
wasn't
understand it's not
ridiculed. Oh, no, 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 no.
mm,
Is the truth ridicule?
no.
Oh, hold on, hold on. Hold on, Liz. I got to back you down. What's ridicule?
Ridicule would be because you did call her socially awkward, and okay, if
Is
you're
that
going,
ridicule?
well, calling someone socially awkward, is that, would you say that would be a compliment
Is
though?
calling somebody obese ridicule?
No,
Calling somebody a diabetic, is that ridicule?
no.
Is calling somebody what they are ridicule?
Okay, but in
No,
Christians,
ma'am,
okay.
no, no. This snowflake generation. A 45-year-old virgin who has delusions of how she's going to find a husband, who
Mhm.
says she's strong in her convictions, but she's not even in a church to facilitate single Christian marriage. And
To be fair,
you're defending that, and you're saying I ridiculed her by what?
well,
Calling her socially awkward. What should I have called her?
to be fair, most
To
churches
be
don't
called no.
facilitate
What should I have called her?
you. Honestly, and I know it sounds mean, you probably should have just called her out for being lazy.
I did that too.
Oh,
But both things can be this. Both things can be true. She's
mm,
lazy
mm,
and socially awkward. But I want to go back to the beginning.
mm.
You don't even like generalizations.
I would disagree with that, but okay.
You said you don't think generalizations are fair.
Well, I did walk that back though once you
No, you
deconstruct.
walked it back after I challenged it.
Mhm.
So, ma'am, due respect, it sounds to me like you sounds like to me you what I would consider to be one of these snowflakes. You're too sensitive. Ma'am, she's a 45-year-old virgin who
Mhm.
still thinks because she hasn't had menopause, she can have
Mhm.
children and God's the final person to
Yeah,
decide. And I'm a Christian.
I know that was
All right, ma'am.
delusional.
Ridicule, ridicule,
Mhm.
ridicule. Is there a way to tell somebody the truth and not ridicule them?
Yes, yes,
How,
for sure.
and how do you determine the difference?
Um, well, uh,
How do you determine the difference?
the difference between ridicule and telling someone the truth is that the truth is often told in love and wanting to help
I
someone.
don't. You can't love somebody that you don't know. It's about intent. Don't put that
Okay,
on me. I don't have to love a stranger. It's about intent.
okay. But I understand what she's going through because
Okay.
I had experience with that.
Let's take a moment to reflect on what just happened. A lot was said, but what stood out the most wasn't just the content, it was the mindset behind it. There's a difference between disagreeing with a message and not liking how it sounds. And too often, people confuse the two. When someone tells the truth plainly, it's easy to label it as harsh or disrespectful, especially when that truth cuts close to home. But here's the reality: Kevin didn't say anything outrageous. He asked simple, logical questions. Do generalizations hold weight if backed by majority behavior? Does time affect value in the dating market differently for men and women? And she agreed on every point. So what we're left with is resistance, not to the facts, but to how those facts feel. That's not a debate. That's discomfort in facing uncomfortable truths. She came in claiming the arguments were unfair, but ended up validating every one of them, and that's the deeper issue. If someone says they disagree, but ends up agreeing under scrutiny, that's not intellectual pushback. That's emotional noise. Logic doesn't bend just because we want it to. Whether it's dating, relationships, or life in general, most people aren't struggling because they lack information. They're struggling because they reject what the information demands of them: change, accountability, humility. And until that shifts, the cycle continues. Let me know in the comments. Do you think she was arguing in good faith, or was she just uncomfortable with the reality Kevin laid out? If you agree with the breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Until then, stay sharp. Truth doesn't care how you feel about it.